Welcome, masterful agents and investors from across the country. Today is Thursday, August 5th, 2021, and this is Mastermind Podcast number 339. I had an announcement. We'll put it off till next week. I wanted y'all to know that we do have a new coach, which we will introduce next Thursday. He had a prearranged meeting today, not to replace Bruce, but to supplement Bruce's great coaching. We've got a new coach named Chuck Sirk. Am I pronouncing that correctly, Bruce?
You got
You're not
right.
announcing it this week, though, are you? You're not announcing it this week?
I'm not.
We're going to put the announcement off till next week.
Announcing, but not introducing. We're going to introduce them on the next week's call. Bruce, anything you want to share before we go to the queue?
Those of you that have been in Foundations, be on the lookout for in 2 weeks our role play call coming up. We had a great one a couple of weeks ago and going to have another really good one in 2 weeks. So if you've been on Foundations, be looking for that email. If you haven't been on Foundations yet, please do sign up. We love having big groups when we do those classes. Everything is good. We've got a lot of things that are really moving forward very nicely with coaching, with training, with classes. We're trying to provide more and more value to you guys to really make it where you know exactly what you do when you start getting these leads, and in turn that should lead to higher and higher conversion rates. And as Jim, we're not announcing that Chuck Sirk is coming on board. So you guys next week can pretend like you've never heard that name before.
You weren't going to say anything about Chuck, were you?
Who?
Yeah, that's what I thought you said.
Yeah.
All right. Tim, what would you like to share?
I would like to share that my partner, Jim, is one of the most entertaining people I've ever met.
Well, thank you. I'll take that as a compliment. You can laugh at me or with me, as long as you don't ignore me.
I do both of them frequently with love. No, I don't really have a kink today. I will just kind of, we've done this for a couple of weeks, and we've just kind of done some updates on the pre-probate stuff that we talked about a little bit. We've appreciated the good feedback from you, and we are continuing to work that program. We believe that we have it tied down to the point now that the data is in there. And just to kind of give you a quick cut at it, what we found was that the challenge that we ran into with it was that unlike probate, where we usually start with these are things that are either published as obituaries or on Legends or 23andMe or places like that, where we find notices of people's passing. And what happens in those cases is that oftentimes those notices are published in multiple places. So it could be something where someone was, lived in New York City for 60 years, moved to Florida, and was in Florida for 2 or 3 years, and unfortunately didn't live long in Florida. So their obituary gets posted in both places. And anything that they owned was likely in New York. So we were having to do some additional digging to make sure that the data that we're providing is accurate. So we got a lot of information, and it's a lot of great data, but we have to make sure that we're providing good, solid information for it. So that's what we're working on right now. It takes a lot to automate that, so we've been playing with the formulas that we use to make that work, and as soon as we've got it all nailed down, you'll be the next to know, and it'll be soon.
Awesome. Tim, you want to touch briefly also on probate cash? Make
sure
people aware that is available. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, we haven't. The issue there is that, and simply put, if you have customers who are definitely going to inherit, and we know that from the will, if you talk to them, you find out that, in fact, they know that in the will that they're going to inherit, $50,000 or whatever. It is possible for that to turn into a cash advance for them immediately. We have an affiliation with a group that will provide advanced cash or cash advances on that. If in fact there is a document, a will that names them as a beneficiary, and the attorney for that can validate the fact that indeed upon closure they will inherit X dollars or X percentage of the property in it or whatever. So this group that we're working with will advance them a substantial sum of money to do that, and await the closure on probate to do it. And they do it at a phenomenally inexpensive interest rate, considering what they're dealing with. And we have not rolled that program out in terms of making you have the ability to connect to those people, but we did let you know that it was coming. And if you have something like that and you have an opportunity like that, for now, if you wanted to send something in to support at all the leads, you can do that and say, Tim said we could get cash advances. I've got a customer like that. Please reach out to me, and I'll be happy to put you in touch with the people that can hook you up with the money and hook your client up with the money. And nothing is going to get you in more solidly with those people than saying, oh, by the way, I can get you money, in 2 or 3 days if you can validate the will. And that frequently happens, and it's a great way for you to establish that relationship with the customer. So feel free to do that. We will have the ability for you to do that online soon.
And just to add to that, one thing that's great for the customer. What's great for you guys is there is a $300 fee for you for referring them. So basically, find 1 or 2 of those people a month, whether you're doing business with them or not, and it could basically pay for all your leads and your marketing, depending on how many leads you're getting. So it's a good income opportunity, and it's a good opportunity to provide a lot of extra value. All right. Well, those are the news this week, those news items. We have 2 people in the queue. We do have room for more, guys. Just hit *6 and hit 1. First up this week is phone number ending in 8512. You're up first.
Hi, how you doing today? Great to be on. I'm Stu Simone. I'm in Southern California and Western LA County and doing Ventura County here. And Southern California is very competitive, so on the phone numbers, I'd say almost all of them have a do not call star on them. So Mike, got a couple of questions related to that. What is your opinion on texting people like that? And I also have the ability to do voicemail drops. So what do you think about that?
Stu, it's Bruce. I find that text and voice drops are a little bit riskier. I've known a lot of people that had a lot of success with text and voice drops, but you're definitely layering in extra layers of federal protection on the people that you're dropping a voicemail on or sending a text to when they haven't opted into your text. If you're going to leave a voicemail, it's generally best that the phone. It does not mean that you can't be successful by doing text and voice drops. You just have to be aware of the risk and willing to accept any consequences if there were any that came your way. I'm sure Tim has something to say about that as well.
Well, you might assume that. I mean, the issue there is that the one thing that we always say is that you yourself need to be, we flag them for your protection and for our protection. And what I mean by that is we are giving them to you because we agreed to give you as much information as we could to help you contact the customer. Having said that, we also tell you that it is very important in this business that you familiarize yourself with the TCPA, which is the Telecommunications Protection Act that literally covers all of this. And there are substantial penalties for, abusing it. It covers phone calls, it covers voicemails, it covers texts and all of that. Having said that, the choice is yours. And we're always real careful not to give you legal advice or encourage you to do something that's illegal, but we do give you all the phone numbers. And I think that, what Bruce said is certainly accurate. We certainly do recommend that you do the mailings and attempt to follow up on them and make as many phone calls as you can to try to reach the customers. I think if you work these leads and you get some experience with the phone calls, you can make your own judgments about what you choose to do or not choose to do. We give you as much information as we can, and we leave it up to you to make those decisions.
So as an alternative, some of the people that are the other people, I guess, beneficiaries and such, some here and there are not starred. So what's your success rate with people that are not the personal representative or executor? I mean, is it a waste of time? I mean, you're giving the numbers, so I guess it's not a total waste of time, but how do you approach them, and what do you think the success rate is?
So that's the reason that we give you all those. The whole point there is that we try to give you as many as we can, and I would certainly, to begin with, you know that you're safe calling all of them that do not have a DNC flag on them. And the reason we give you that is that we're trying to give you the ability to locate that personal representative and find someone who can put you in touch with the person who can make a decision about real estate if there is any. So absolutely, you do need to make those calls and make sure that you do what you can. So people, that's exactly why they're there. We wouldn't be giving them to you if we didn't think they had a high value to make that work. So definitely I would do that, and that's what a lot of people have great success with doing. They call down every number that's on the system that they can get to. Bruce, do you have anything about that you'd add?
No, I mean, I think that those numbers are golden. We kid ourselves to think that the PR is always the only person that has to say in this process. I find that calling the non-PRs, those other family members, is often more rewarding than the PR. Now, I'm not saying that to make people think that that they need to focus on those additional numbers instead of the PR. But if I call a family member and I say, look, I was trying to reach John Smith, the personal representative, are you related? And they say yes. If I at that point, if I say, well, what I'm calling John for might not be relevant to you, do you mind if I tell you why I was trying to reach John? The curiosity factor alone is going to make almost all of them hear me out. And then many times I'll just get to the end of that that little elevator pitch that I give, and I'll say, what do you think I should do next? And that person will say, well, let me talk to John, because I think I want to sell the house and we just need to get on the same page. And they're just typically open because you're not selling them, you're selling John. And they want to help you sell John, especially if it benefits them. So there's going to be a lot.
Right, and I guess, yeah, it sounds like a good idea because we're not going to be getting as many calls either.
True.
So the pitch is to say that we couldn't reach the personal representative then. So it's a different script or.
Yep.
You know what?
Yep.
That's an excellent point. And you know, we've been doing this for, golly, since 2014, and that's the first time that I can remember someone saying what you just said, which is that they are not likely to have been getting the phone calls. They're not getting barraged with this. Nobody's calling them and banging on them trying to find something out. And they're the people, and often are the folks who are going to reap the most benefit from anything that's going to come out of this probate, because oftentimes the person who's actually handling it is a friend of the family, or, you know, somebody who really doesn't stand to benefit from it, because people tend to try to put impartial people in that role, especially if there are, you know, decisions to be made and family drama and all of that. And the reality is, if you find a cousin or an aunt or a son or daughter who wants to do this, they'll light the fire under the PR better than anybody else will. So that's a very good point.
Great, excellent. And then while I got you, I'm also calling the attorneys. We're going to start calling them, and I find it a little almost comical that a lot of the attorneys have a DNC star. I don't know how that would be, because how would they get any business? So is that something? Seems like something you might be able to ignore, right?
Here's the thing I would encourage you to do. If you find an attorney whose phone number is showing up on the DNC list, our algorithm that we use to do that augmentation, it will often find a phone number for the attorney in their own name, and it's going to pull up a cell phone that isn't, that's their cell phone, and they put it on the DNC. And if you find that, depending on the volume of leads that you have, I would encourage you to, hop online with them, put them into Google, and quickly determine that the phone number that we gave you may in fact be accurate for them as a cell phone number, but get their office number and call that number. That's the ticket there.
There you go. That makes sense. Okay. Hadn't thought of that one.
I hadn't thought
All
of
right.
that.
Thanks
either.
so much, guys.
I'm sorry, Bruce. What did you say, bud?
Perfect. Thank you. We have one more in the queue. We do have plenty of room, guys. Hit *6, hit 1. You can be up next. In the meantime, next up in the queue is 5464. How you doing, Eddie?
Doing well. How about yourself? Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Okay, perfect. Well, I had an interesting, a first-time call yesterday by somebody who received my letter, and I think I figured it out okay, but I'm curious to hear what other people's take is on it. The heir to the property, the judge required him to have a bond on the property because they said that his net worth was not high enough in case he decided to sell the properties and just take the money. And I had never heard of having a bond on a property in a probate situation. And I was just curious what, so here I'll tell you what I did. I ended up calling a retired probate judge who I've been working with. That's another story I can tell you about, but I called him to see what was happening. And he said it's just like an executor's bond insurance policy, and you just pay for it. Like it's like $150 a year. But I'd never come across this, and so I just figured I'd ask you guys if it's something that you've experienced.
I have seen it. I was an executor in Kentucky and was encouraged to get that, and it's basically like getting owner and operator insurance. There's a racket involved in this. If you're not, it just protects you. If you do something and you screw the probate up, it keeps you from having to fight the lawsuit from the heirs or anybody that's in it, and it's kind of cheap insurance. But in reality, I'm not so sure that it's not more of a racket than anything else. If it's a simple probate, I wouldn't worry about it, but I think potentially I would look at that deal and see if there's a lot of hair on the deal that the person that encouraged the personal representative to get that or to find a bond or whatever may be concerned that this probate is a mess in some way, that there could be a mistake in it. And I would encourage your PR to potentially get another opinion from not that attorney that's on file, and maybe just see if you could find out from another family law attorney if it's common in your state for someone to be recommending to do that. Don't take that first answer and go with that.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense, Eddie?
Yeah, it does. Is there ever a time when you might be working with the PR and you'd be like, hey, I'm not sure, here's, that whatever the case might be, that you would recommend the PR to get it themselves just because of too many problems with the...
Well, here's the time that you might, it could be, you could add this to your, potentially, if you get the answer from a different attorney that this is really common in your state and you want to go do that. I know that on other calls we've talked about getting a policy on the property that covers it being vacant, and I'm sure if you've been on many of our calls, we talk about doing that maybe a normal insurance policy is not going to cover the home if it's been vacant for 30, 60, 90 days, depending on local statute. If you find that it's that way in your state, what you may find out is that that's a good question to ask the PR and they'll know you know what you're doing. So if for no other reason to do it, it would be that. The other thing is that policy also could prevent you from having to sue the PR, and here's the circumstance that could happen in. Let's say that the personal representative puts you through the ringer and you go do all your good due diligence, and the personal representative has misrepresented some aspect of the property, and it's something that your title search didn't pull up or whatever. It protects you, or it protects that PR against you suing them for fraud or anything else. If you have a sense that something is, not right, you might want to suggest that. But I think that's potentially something good to put in your quiver to use at will if you think it's there. But I would definitely validate it with more than one attorney in your market.
Okay. The attorney's not the one recommending it. It's the judge who's handling the probate is the one who's recommending this.
Recommending or dictating?
Dictating. Thank you.
Either judges can do anything they want, and they kind of operate with impunity to do that. But I would still recommend that you get another opinion about that it's a short question to ask a family law attorney is, do you recommend this, or is it normally the case, or whatever? Or, the other thing is you could, request a minute with the judge and see if you can get in and see the judge. If they're a public servant, you have a reasonable opportunity to, get on their calendar and talk to them and ask them on. It's a way to make yourself known. Use the opportunity to make yourself known to the people that you're going to be dealing with going forward. And, then next time something like this comes up, you can say, well, I worked with Judge Johnson before, and he typically does that in circumstances like this. All of those things make you better at your craft. But use those opportunities to leverage back into a conversation with people that can help you. And I'm going off a tangent here, but I'll say this. We have a customer that we frequently refer to, and he's in a very rural area of Arkansas. And he's done such a good job of making himself well known in the legal system in his marketplace that frequently the judges actually direct personal representatives to him to work with them, to work through the bumpy spots in probate opportunities, because he's learned it so well that he's very expeditious. And what judges like to do is keep their docket clear. They don't want this case coming back over and over again. So it's a great opportunity for you to build that relationship with a judge. I'd go bang on his door.
Also, Tim, our friend Bill in California has established, he's been in court so much, he's established so many good relationships with judges. He has judges recommend, he had a case, I remember him telling us, where it was a very contentious divorce, and the judge told the parties that they had to use him as a realtor because he had established a relationship with them in probate that spilled over into divorce also. So, there is a tremendous opportunity. It's like establishing a relationship with a court-appointed executor. It's the same thing. They're going to do, multiple deals. The same thing goes for the judge. Does that help, Eddie?
Great advice.
Oh, sorry, Eddie. I had muted you out. You had a lot of background noise there, so I muted you out for a second. Go ahead.
That's all right. I took off my headphones. I hope that helps.
That's great.
Thank you.
So I assume if you're not, I've been reading into and learning more about the E-Myth. Have you read that book?
Mm-hmm. Great book.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to build my systems, because here's the problem that I've recognized with myself is I'll do a whole bunch of work, sending out letters and being consistent with phone calls, and then I get a bunch of leads that I end up closing, but then I have a whole bunch of, I don't have the systems in place to do, have somebody else doing enough of these things. So then I end up talking to the title company and scheduling and checking on cleanouts and making sure that I've got a whole bunch of balls in the air, and I'm not I don't have the system. So then like things fall off, and then I have to ramp back up my calls and my letters and everything like that. I don't know exactly what my question. Well, part of my system is going to be like having pieces of my marketing. Like my marketing is great, but I want to build my marketing so that like have my brand recognition be to where like the judge knows me, but also, you know, people that are in my sphere of influence know exactly what I do, so that when somebody mentions that they inherit a property, they're like, oh, you got to call Eddie because he has this, like he's great at it. He's helped a bunch of people, and he has just a flawless system, you know, from doing online marketing through, I used to use Hootsuite, but, you know, just like my mailers, that like constantly putting things into my Hootsuite account kind of fell off. But I figured, you know, specifically with Hootsuite, would it be valuable for other people, not just myself? Like if myself or a marketing person, we wrote up a probate, like a value add probate drop kind of that people could use their Hootsuite, just plug in all these different kind of drips so that everybody knows when somebody dies in that county, they know exactly who to call because it's all over their Facebook and their LinkedIn and their Instagram and whatnot. But I'm trying to get all of those pieces, like having a seamless plan in the marketing, the drips, the contacting the correct attorneys and judges. So, and then having the people in my staff or group so that I don't, you know, I think that's going to be the downfall of not only myself, but other people, is that if they're just trying to do too much and can't keep it up and then don't see the results. Does that make sense? My question is like, you know, who's the best system person, I guess?
Let me just ask you a quick question. Can you systematize what you need? And what I mean by that is, can you clearly delineate what it is that you would want something to do for you? What you said was a little bit, I mean, I'm not being critical, but I'll just say it, a little bit vague. If you were going to hire someone to do this job for you, can you take what you're asking there and put it into a job description?
I don't.
If you can't, you need to be able to. That's the point.
Mm-hmm. See, I figure there's other real estate professionals who are already doing similar, like having people do similar tasks and having, like, just, you know, hiring them, they're their own, like, 1099 or their own business, paying them separately, and just having those people in, like, my quiver to do that, and then finding the things that only I can do and make sure I'm doing them, like.
So, Eddie, here's the issue, okay? And I'm saying that you are that this is a mistake that you're going to make. But most people, when they say doing the things that only I can do, that's for most people that's a big ego statement. And a lot of times they think that they're the best at certain things that another individual might be as good, better, or cheaper. Okay, so first thing that I encourage you to do is lay out where you are today and where you want to be. So where you are today, and figure out how much you're worth per hour. Okay, next, lay out where you want to be and where you feasibly think you can get to on an hourly value for yourself. Let's just hypothetically say that you figure out that you're worth $100 an hour. Well, if you are doing something, even if you're 10% better than someone that would do that at $10 an hour, or 5 if it's a VA, or 20 if it's a local person, why would you keep doing that task? Why would you keep doing it when you could get someone and pay them $80 an hour less than you pay yourself. So my encouragement would be to do some of these. As you do them, go get yourself either Google Drive or a free Thinkific account, which Thinkific is just learning software, or a Trello account or something. And as you do these tasks and responsibilities, and maybe you're ordering a sign installation, or you're ordering an inspection, or you're doing anything that you do in this average deal, screen share it as you're doing it, talk through the process, record that process, put it into either your learning software, your Google Drive, or your Trello account, whatever you're using to document your process, and have it as a course, and then go hire someone for $5 or $20 an hour. And I say $5 because you could hire offshore a lot of people to do a lot of these responsibilities. If it's local, get someone for $20 an hour and just give them the course so that they don't have to come ask you how to do things. You've already showed it by screen recording and narrating what you're doing as you do these tasks and processes. But the first thing to do is to lay out all of those tasks and processes and ask yourself, okay, what is this worth? How much would someone else do this for? If it's less than you make per hour, go find someone else to do it.
Okay.
Yep. So, I mean, and if it's not less than you make per hour, then you view your hourly rate at, then you do it. For now.
Yeah.
The ultimate goal is freedom, though. The ultimate goal is being able to duplicate your efforts so that you can do what you want to do. You can have a business that supports you. And I love the fact that you mentioned the E-Myth revisited at the front of this conversation. It's exactly what they teach there. Your goal is not to be a technician that works for yourself. Your goal is to be a business owner and reap the benefits of being a business owner.
And Eddie,
Yeah.
I was going to add to that real quick. I get that you're looking for a plug-and-play system. Unfortunately, the best system for you probably is never going to be exactly the same as the best system for someone else. It's like, it's like Bruce training the ISAs now. Some people are going to use those ISAs because they never want to pick up the phone, but the most successful people are going to use them because they're going to allow the ISAs to screen and allow them to talk to more qualified people. So everybody is you're going to have some administrative skills that a lot of people don't have. You're going to be better or worse at other people at calling. So I don't think it's possible to find a plug and play that's going to be as effective as what Bruce just said. Let's determine what you like to do. Typically, you're good at what you like to do. So I would start with what you don't like to do. That's probably something that isn't a good use of your time and you're probably not real good at. But, develop a plug and play for Eddie, rather than trying to find one that you can exactly – it's going to be more effective than trying to exactly copy someone else. David Pinnell's on the line, and I think he'd be the first to tell you his system, given his talents and strengths and weaknesses, isn't going to necessarily be exactly the same best system for someone else. And I kind of long-winded there, but I hope you followed that. I didn't want you to get discouraged and think that there's not an answer. I think Bruce's suggestion is great. Make sense?
Okay. Yeah, okay, last question, and I know we've already talked about this, so I'm not trying to get you to say the answer again. But a handful of weeks ago, it might have been like 3 months actually, you were telling somebody it was kind of like how the letters that they were sending out added value, and how like maybe one they sent out a letter that said, hey, here's my insurance agent. I know you might not be thinking about this right now. You might need to upgrade your insurance. And then the next month your letter says, hey, here are state sale people. Do you remember that conversation, Bruce?
Not that exact conversation, but yes, that is definitely something that I teach. That you should be constantly building credibility with your pieces. We look at our marketing pieces as a sales tool, and they are a great sales tool, but anytime you're selling, that person doesn't know you. They know you as a salesperson, and they need to start to view you instead of with a salesperson hat on. They need to start viewing you as the expert or the credible person that they need in their life. And the only way to do that is to teach them and educate them.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm going to try to go back and listen to the podcast to see if I can figure out, because it was very good. And my estate planning attorney gave me these like gift cards that are customized with his logo and my logo on them. Say your friend at Kansas City Legacy Properties, and it's a $350 off a trust or $200 off a will. So I was like,
nice.
there has to be a way to leverage that, because he can make as many as I want. So I'm like, all right, after the third contact, I should just be sending this out. Hey, if that was as big of a stressful process as it has been for me, you might want to set up a will or a trust yourself, and here's a $300 off gift card for it. But I'm trying to figure out what the other pieces are. So I'll try and go find that. But thank you for the help.
Absolutely, yeah. We could brainstorm on that all day long, but go just look for different pieces of value that you can give like that. I love that idea.
And Eddie, congrats on finding a good attorney. It sounds like you found an attorney that's got some marketing chops there. Most attorneys wouldn't think to be willing to do that. I don't know if it was your idea or his, but that could be very effective for him and for you. That's great.
I'm hoping that it leads to enough business for him where he just sends all of the people that need help to me. I mean, that's
exactly.
the goal.
Perfect. Love it.
So.
All right, sir. Anything else we can help you with this week?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, thanks as always for contributing. You always bring good stuff to the call, Eddie. Appreciate you. Next up, and actually last up in the queue right now, guys, feel free to jump in. Hit *6 and hit 1. For now, the last person up in the queue is phone number ending in 5757. You're up next.
Hi, everybody. This is Douglas in Seattle, and I just got to, I was sitting here with a question 20 minutes ago, and if I just sit tight, you guys are going to cover everything. This class today has gone above and beyond, and it just given me every tool I need to get to the next step. So my questions were answered by the last caller. So thank you, whoever that was.
All right. Well, the queue is empty. So is there any other questions you can think of, or is there anything we can help you with?
Yes. I'd like to know if you have any other advice on developing relationships with attorneys and with judges, because I think the idea of the angle of going in to create a relationship with a judge is awesome.
The country club. The country club. I mean, it's funny. I've never really developed a relationship with a judge. I like that idea as well. I've got about 8,000 attorneys, and it's interesting. It's funny because 5 years ago I didn't know a single attorney, and once you start meeting and connecting with people in a certain flock, you're gonna meet and connect with more and more of them. Go join a club, a city club, which is Club Corp, any major city. So you're going to be close enough to one. Join a Club Corp. I bet you there's going to be some judges up there. It's typically just a private business club at the top of a tower in your city. Usually really affordable, and that's where a lot of influential people network and get to know each other. And that would probably be the place that I would go if I was just trying to meet people like that.
And Tim, you had a comment also? Tim?
Sure. A couple of things that I can certainly tell you, and I suspect you may have heard this on our call as well, but the quickest, fastest way to develop a relationship with an attorney is to go buy an hour of their time. And literally, it's probably one of the best expenses that you could make. I would take your current set of leads, I would run down the leads and sort them by attorney. And if you see an attorney that has multiple probate clients in your lead set, I would go to the top one on the list and go buy an hour of their time. Introduce yourself, have your act together, tell them what you want to do, tell them what you want to learn while you're there, and come in with a list of questions to ask them. And that's the way you build that relationship. Their time is all they have as a commodity. Go buy it.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. In my acting background, how I always got the attention of the best directors was I would buy an hour of their time. It really made a difference. Thank you.
Hey, Doug,
and yes.
One other thing real quick that occurred to me, I can't remember who it was, but we had a client in the past that had good luck. A lot of markets, a lot of counties will have a professional association for attorneys, kind of like the Board of Realtors will allow attorneys and title companies and inspection companies to join as an affiliate member. There may be a professional group of attorneys in your market that will allow you to join as an affiliate member. You may want to Google and look into that also.
Okay. You call them professional what?
A professional association, like you could Google attorneys groups in Cleveland or a
it's
professional
the local bar. It's literally the local bar, Jim. It's the local bar association.
Okay. Okay. And thank you. Another awesome, great advice. I'm going to take it and run. And also, I don't have a website. Do you have any recommendations for probate websites?
Yeah.
No.
You are aware that is one of the things that we offer and do for our customers, right?
No,
we build credibility websites for you. If you'll just contact support.
Okay. I'll call them right after this call.
Hey, Douglas, you're making me look bad, man. You're making me look bad. Tim's going to ask me why our subscribers don't know these things.
Yeah,
well, I have an appointment with is it Natalie? Is that her name? Or I have an appointment with I couldn't talk to her last week because I'm recovering from a hospital visit, but I'm going to talk to her this week. So she should be calling you. I'm sure she would have
told you, but you gave me the opportunity to beat Bruce up, and I always appreciate that. But listen, we will get your website up for you really quickly, and we do a very exquisite job of creating a great credibility website for you that will help you out as you go visit people that you're trying to build that credibility with, whether they be potential PRs or judges or attorneys or building your network of people. That's what that website's for, and we'll be happy to do it. Just contact support. We'll do it. Get you started today. Don't wait.
All right, I will. I'll call.
And Doug, if I could give a little pitch to my partner. Tim started a web hosting company, I think basically the same time the internet came out, probably before a lot of the people on this call were born. I don't think anybody else is as good at that as his group there, which is part of our company. And it'll be probate specific. It'll tie into everything else you're trying to do, and he'll help you, or they'll help you tie your existing site into your probate site and vice versa. So that for the cost of that, it's ridiculously low. It's kind of a no-brainer. If anybody else on the call doesn't have one, I'd look into it also. Okay, I will. I'll do that immediately after this call. All right. Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we have two more in the queue. Next up is phone number ending in 5681. You're up next.
Hey, yes, this is Derek. I am dealing with a few out-of-state heirs, and I was thinking of, and they have been quite older. So, in the sense, to the point they're not able to e-sign documents. So, just wondering of what y'all would say of find a way to be able to reach them in order to be able to do so.
What kind of documents are you looking at? Are you looking at listing documents or what?
Yes, I'm actually looking at the actual listing. I'm getting the listing signed now.
Oh, piece of cake. All right. Hire a notary go on 123notary.com, hire a notary, send them the document. Most of those documents don't even need to be notarized, but hire someone for $50. They'll take the documents to the person's house, and they'll show them where to sign. Now, what they won't do is tell them what everything means. So you're probably going to need to be able to verbally walk through the different terms of the contract. But a notary can go over there and get everything signed for you for typically $50. You put a contract out there, or sometimes they'll name their price and you pick the one you want to work with.
Okay.
I'll throw one other one at you, sir. Yeah, I had a deal yesterday, a property that I'm trying to buy. The gentleman was in his late 80s and was not able to scan, didn't know how to DocuSign or anything. He did have a fax machine. You'd be surprised. Most people have a fax machine they probably don't use. So I signed and faxed the document. He printed it out, signed it, and faxed it back to me. You know, don't. You'd be surprised that
Jim,
that's probably too loud.
You just stated yourself. I mean, who's going to say that Darrett, who's probably mid-30s, is going to have a fax machine?
Well, you can e-fax from your computer. How's that?
There you go.
There's
Jim,
an app called e-fax.
Explain to him how to do that, bud.
Yeah. Oh, I'm our tech-savvy partner. I'll be glad to help you with that. Just reach out.
I do
All
know
right.
e-fax as well too, but thank you. I appreciate that, y'all.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Derek.
We have one more in the queue. That should take us up nicely to the top of the hour. Next and possibly last up is phone number ending in 0155. You're up next.
Yeah, from Team Bergadamo down here in Florida. I was on the phone the other day with a lead, and he said, I really want to sell my house, Sheila, but I'm afraid of the capital gains tax I'm going to have to pay on it. Can you give me a little bit more insight into what's going on with that and why he would have to pay capital gains on a home sale, or whether he would have to or not?
Well, I'm going to ask my partners to chime in here as well, but my understanding is that there's a step-up basis, and the only gain that would be required are any value gains since the death. So since that property went into the estate. So any value gains, let's just say this market's kind of crazy. Maybe it did gain $100,000 over the last 6 months, like some of my properties here.
Right.
That would be a taxable gain, but the gain from a step-up basis really shouldn't be significant. Now, I do want my partners to chime in on this because I'm in no way an expert on this, but that's my take on it.
That was my understanding also, Bruce. I'm to be honest with you, I'm not a CPA either. I had thought it was from the time you inherit, from the time you took title until the time you sold it. It may be from the date of death, but either way, it doesn't go back. If the person paid $30,000 for it and now you're selling it for, $500,000, you're only going to pay gains on a small difference between the time when the process of the title passing to you began until it's completed. And more often than not, if you've got a good accountant and an attorney, that'll be more than wiped out by your expenses. But again, don't go ahead. You have something you want to add, Tim?
Yeah, I was just going to say the law, and I believe this is correct in Florida, but we certainly don't hand out legal advice here, but everything Bruce and Jim told you is correct. The tax is actually calculated on how much the capital gains tax is only the increase, and it is since the person's death, but beneficiaries inherit the assets at their probated value. So, for example, if you had a house and the house was inherited at $450,000 and you sold it for $500,000, then there'd be a $50,000 capital gains, and in fact, that would be what was being charged. The smart thing also to do is to encourage your client who's being told that to make sure that they are tracking religiously every expense they have in doing anything to get the property ready for sale, because that can be deducted from the sale price on an inherited piece of property somewhat differently than on a regular real estate transaction, and it has reflection on that capital gains amount. And that sounds like legalese, and I'm going to again say, please, if it's a substantial amount of money, go talk to an attorney and direct your PR to do that as well. But they're correct in telling you that it is the difference it's the appreciation between the time the person died and the time a property got sold that they would owe cap gains on.
So in his particular instance, he and his wife had purchased the property, 20 years ago. The capital gains would be from the date of purchase, not the date of her death. Am I correct in that?
Who is inheriting the property?
Well, it was a husband and wife. The wife passed away. The husband has the property. He's the PR.
Unless the title rested specifically in the wife's name, they probably had joint tenancy on it. He wouldn't have capital gains in that respect. From that standpoint, he'd have capital gains on the property from 20 years ago if there were capital gains, but that has nothing to do with the inheritance. He still owns the property.
Right. No. He said he wouldn't mind selling the property because it was too big for him to be there by himself, but he was afraid of paying way too much capital gain. So I didn't really know how to approach that.
If he lives there, if he lives at the house and he has been living at the house, then there should be a $500,000 exemption. So if he's been living in the house and she was living in the house and now he sells, then the law says as long as they've lived there, I believe it's for 3 of the past 5 years, which sounds like they have, then, he'd have to make more than $500,000 before it would be taxed.
Good information. Thank you so much.
But listen, make sure you contact, before you give your client that advice, advise your client to find an attorney and have that conversation with them, or carry them into that. And again, like we said earlier on the call, great way to build a relationship with an attorney is to say to your client, look, give them all the information we just gave you and say, I believe these are correct, but I'm going to make sure they are. And how about you and I go see, attorney so-and-so who can clarify all this for us, and let that maybe be the hour of time that you buy with an attorney to go get this done. And then you'll have all the information that you need to do that. And that's pretty impressive to your potential PR as well, or the person selling it.
Yeah, definitely give him good information. All right, well, I appreciate it. Thanks.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
That was our last call of the week, guys. I want to end this call like I always do. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. I want to particularly thank those that actively participated. Make sure you come back next week. We'll have a non-surprise for you when we introduce our new coach. So make sure you're here at the same time next Thursday. But I want to challenge each of you, take one thought, one idea that you heard on today's call, go out and put it into practice, and please come back next Thursday and share the results with the group. Have a great week, everybody. We'll talk to you same time next Thursday. Take care.